It's Susan Seiler here, and I wanted to just give you some details on Memory Master. Hopefully everybody has gone to the website, the CC Livermore website, and downloaded the Memory Master Guide from the files section. I hope you have. If you haven't, pause the video right now and go do that, or open another tab and download that guide, because that is the official Classical Conversations Memory Master Guide, and anything that I say here should not conflict with what's in the guide. And if it does, make sure to bring it to my attention. Okay, this information is for 2017, 2018, Cycle 3, 4th edition. So if this is after 2017 and 2018, this video is probably no longer completely valid. And so only watch this if it's Cycle 3, 2017, 2018. And you're on CC Livermore. If you're on another campus, talk to your director. Okay, so what is a Memory Master? What is this thing? A Memory Master is a student or a parent who has mastered 100% of the Cycle 3 memory work as found in the 4th edition guide, and so has completely memorized 100% of that, and has recited 100% of the information to in 3 different proofs, plus a spot check by me, the Foundation's director. So students are definitely not required to do this Memory Master process. It is absolutely between you and your student if this is something that you wish to undertake. It truly does encourage excellent and reinforces the memorization and recitation skills. And I think one of the major benefits is it really engages us as parents in the learning process. I think I still have 85%, maybe more, of the memory work for all 3 cycles in my brain. And that's because I walked alongside memory mastering, walked alongside my kids each year, helping them memory master and drilling the content. And even after all this time, I think I still have a lot of it in there. And then finally, this process really does reward diligent study and hard work. And that's all modeled in Scripture. So we want to give our children opportunities to set a goal higher than they think and even we think that they can achieve, and then work towards that. And this is not an easy process. This isn't an easy road. Your first year, your second and third year, so much easier. Or your 6th year, like we're in our 6th year, way easy. But your first year, it's a huge amount of time. It's a huge amount of time. And I want you to know, you as parents, no matter how old your student is, you must help them. And you must set the pace, and you must set the bar, and you must invest the time to practice with them. And I would say by the time you're in January, you're looking at where you really need to be willing to invest about an hour in one day to help them go through everything, to build up their stamina to go through everything, and then pieces through the week. And depending on how old your child is will depend on how much you have to invest in helping them after that first day. But this is not the time where we'll talk about how to tackle the memory work. If you would like to have that conversation, let me know on campus. I can do a video or just talk to you one-on-one about it. Okay, so I do want to give you a scripture, and the scripture is one that has just kind of been our scripture that we aim towards as we have gone for Memory Master all of these years, and it's Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your rewards. You are serving the Lord Christ. And this is to remind me that we're not working this Memory Master process only for the Memory Master title and for having other people impressed or having other people give us kudos. That's really not the process. We are truly working for the Lord and working to give our very best in this place and with this work He has put in front of us. And for my family, each year, the best has been aiming towards Memory Master. And so that's just what we do. If your family is different, or your circumstances are different, or you get started in the year and somebody gets really sick, or you have something that shifts or changes, that's okay. The work that we've done in giving our best effort is so valuable. And there's a lot of character growth that happens through this Memory Master process, both for your student and for you, like for the parent too. Huge. Okay, so I'm going to go over each academic subject and some key points for you to know in each subject. This does not take the place of reading the Memory Master Guide, so make sure to do that, okay? All right, timeline. Timeline. The proofer will say, tell me your timeline. And the student will start Age of Ancient Empires and go all the way through Rising Tide of Freedom. And what do they need to say? Just those headings. They do not need to say the dates. The dates are not required. Even the dates for the ages. So if they're saying the Middle Ages, they can say circa 450 to circa 1500. That's great. They don't have to, however. How can they recite the timeline? They can sing it, they can say it, they can chant it. So if they're singing the song and they get to the dates, it's fine for them to go, the Middle Ages, circa, da 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 da. That's fine. Most of our students don't. They say the dates. If they do say the dates, I'd like them to be accurate. We don't want to be saying wrong dates. So practice the dates. Practice them accurately. But if for some reason you don't want your student to say the date, they don't have to for even the ages. Year 1 AD, 1000 AD, they don't have to say any of those dates. Okay, no visual or oral prompts allowed. No auditory, no humming or singing the tune, no playing the soundtrack only, no showing the timeline card with the name covered up. Nope. The only prompt is, tell me your timeline. And the student will say their timeline. If they get stuck, and they go into a little loop, right, in the proofing process, what do? Do you make them start all the way over at the beginning? No, we don't need to do that. We, let's say they got stuck at, Pentecost in the early church. They did Jesus the Messiah, and then they forgot what came next. And maybe they circled back around to something or what have you. There's two things we can do. One is sometimes I just let it go to see if they're going to catch themselves in their loop and be like, oh, wait, oh, I'm back here. Okay, got it. And sometimes they self-correct, and I want to give them an opportunity to do that. But if they don't, we just stop and go, you know what? I'm going to back you up. Why don't you start with India's Mauryan Empire and go again? And then the student would need to go from India's Mauryan Empire forward. Or if it's closer to the beginning of the age, just, you know what? Let's go back to the beginning of that age and start over and tell me that again. So those are a couple of things that is a little grace and how we would handle that with timeline. But I really don't expect that to happen. Right? Memory Master is a level that content has been mastered. So that's not, my hair's all a mess. That's not the way we should be expecting it to go. Does that make sense? But sometimes the kids get nervous and they get stuck in they just get a little loop. But if that's happening in your house before the Memory Master process, you need to do a lot more practice. Don't send them into the process having them do those loops, okay? So timeline can be spoken or sung. All right, let's talk about the presidents. Just like the timeline, we're gonna say, tell me your presidents. And the student will start at the beginning with Washington and go all the way through Obama. They can add Trump at the end, but since it's not in the Foundations Guide 4th edition, they do not have to add that in there. It's last names only. Last names is the only thing required, and it can be spoken or sung. Again, no visuals of the presidents, no oral prompts, no humming of the tune, etc. Okay, history. History. The proofer will say, tell me about, and then whatever the sentence is. Tell me about Columbus. Tell me about the Pilgrims. Is that one of them? Yeah. Tell me about the Declaration of Independence. And the student will, I'm looking for my page here. And the student will just go through and will just answer the question. Tell me about Columbus. And they'll answer it. The answer can be sung or spoken. And you'll notice occasionally that there is a difference between the song and what's actually written in the Foundations Guide. For instance, one might say US and the other one says United States. Either one is fine. That is not a problem. What about miscellaneous little words? In 1492, Columbus sailed the first of 4 trips, or Columbus made the first of 4 trips. That's a little bit of a bigger word shift, but it's fine. What's another one? Sometimes those small little prepositions or conjunctions get dropped or shifted a little bit, and it should be an anomaly and something that does not change the meaning of the sentence. So if there's something specific going on as you're proofing your student, please do let me know. All right, geography. Geography. There are 2 main methods we use to proof geography. First is the show me method. The second is the tell me method. The show me method, the student will say, show me Texas and tell me its capital. And the student will find Texas, point to it on the map, and they will say, Texas, Austin, Texas. They will say, Austin, Texas, or they will just say, Austin. Any of those 3 is absolutely fine. They must say the capital and they must point to the state in the case of show me. Or if it is show me the Okefenokee Swamp, they would simply locate it on the map and point to it. Okay? All right, the second method is tell me. The tutor points to Maine and says, tell me the state and capital. And the student would say, Maine, Augusta, Maine, or Augusta, Maine. It's fine to say the capital before the state because that's what's in the guide. It's fine. So they'll say, tell me what state this is and its capital. And the student would say Maine, Augusta, Maine, or Augusta, Maine. The same thing would happen with the rivers. The tutor would point to a river and say, the backside of the map, geographical features, geographical. They'll point to it and say, tell me what river this is. And the student would say, Mississippi River. Does that make sense? So your students need to know it both ways to make sure that they have that geography mastered. We will go through, let me find geography. We will go through each item and either ask for it to be shown or told. We will not say, tell me your week 1 states and capitals, or tell me all of your Northwest mountains. No, we will not ask it by heading. We will ask each individual item. Show me the Cascade Mountains. Show me Mount Rainier. Tell me what mountain this is. Tell me what mountain that is. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay. Only blackline maps. It's what we use in class. It's what I handed out at the beginning of the year. Everybody should be clear on that. All right. Latin. Latin. All right, Latin. Dun, 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 dun. So we have 3 different kind of subsections within Latin. We have the vocabulary, weeks 1 through 8. We have the rules, weeks 9, 10, and 11. And finally, we have the scripture for weeks 12 through 24. Okay, so let's take it in pieces. Let's talk about the vocabulary. This is how we will do the vocabulary. We will not just say, tell me your Latin prepositions, and the student rattles off the prepositions. That's not the way that Latin will be done. We will say, week one. The proofer should say, week one prepositions. I'll say the Latin, you say the English. In, apud, per, sine. Good. Okay, week two, conjunctions. I'm going to say the English, you say the Latin. And, that, but. Good. Week three, I'm going to say the English again, and you say the Latin. This. Oh, sorry. Week three, pronouns. I'm going to say the English, you say the Latin. This. Hic, hoc. Him. Ipso, ipsum. Now, you might have a student say, your student might go, ipso, ipsum, illum. That is absolutely fine. Totally fine. They don't have to, but that is fine. So, again, this, hic, hoc. Him, ipso, ipsum. Whose, cui. That, quod. It, iam. Illum, or excuse me, him, give me the other, and they're like, wait, I already did him. You know, the other him, and they would say illum. And so it will alternate. The tutor will either say the English and ask for the Latin, or they will say the Latin and ask for the English week by week. So for 1 week it would be English, another week it could be Latin, but it will be either or. Does that make sense? Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about the rules, the weeks of the rules. All right, the proofer will say, tell me your Latin rules for verbs. The student will say, Latin verbs have different endings called conjugations. Just exactly what's written there. For week 10, you'll notice that there's a second sentence in a parenthesis. That is not required. So tell me your Latin rules for articles. Latin has no translation for articles a and the. That's it. Okay? What if they say a and the? If they're using and as a conjunction, that's fine. Okay. Scripture. How will we handle scripture? So we're going to be learning it translate week by week with one phrase in Latin and then the direct English translation at the same time. That's how we're going to be learning it, but that's not how we're going to be reciting it when it comes to review grammar and memory master proofing. For memory master proofing, we will simply say, tell me John 1 through 7 in Latin. And the student will go through and say the whole thing in Latin. In principio erat verbum, et verbum erat apud Deum, et Deus erat verbum, etc. Then after they're done, we'll say, great, tell me the scripture in English. John 1 through 7 in English. So the student would say, the English translation of the Vulgate, what's in the Foundations Guide. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This was with God in the beginning, etc., all the way through week 7. So for the scripture, we will be asking both the Latin and the English separately. Finally, one other important point. There are some discrepancies between page 116 in your Foundations Guide, which is the subject summary for Latin, and page 135, which is the Cycle 3 scripture page. So in class, I'm pretty sure at home, everybody is using the content that's on page 116. However, if you happen to be using somebody's song and they use the song or they use the verbiage from page 135, your verbiage is going to be off a little bit. Either will be accepted for Memory Master. You just need to let your tutor and myself or whoever's proofing your child, you need to let them know to be using the content on page 135. And there's 3 weeks, week 14, week 16, and week 23, that have some minor discrepancies between page 116 and page 135. Okay? Whew, I've been talking a long time. Are you still hanging in here with me? That is amazing. Proud of you. Proud of you for hanging on. Okay, we just have a couple more subjects that are easy peasy. Let's talk about English. English, super easy. Tell me, most people are going to, so week 1, the proofer will say, what is an infinitive? And your student will say, an infinitive is to plus a verb used as a noun, adjective, or adverb. Easy. Week 2, tell me your present participle, or what is a present participle? And they'll just say what's in the guide. Let's do week 4, verb principal parts. And your student only needs to say what's in the guide, not like science where they have to do the complete sentence. They just need to say, if I say, tell me your verb principal parts, they'll say infinitive, present, past, present participle, past participle. Okay, let's talk about these irregular verbs. When you look at your guide on weeks 5 through week 17, you're going to notice there are the verb principal parts, those words, infinitive, present, past participle, past participle, in light gray and italics. So that's a cue that those are not required. That's just additional information for you as the parent. So I would say, the proofer will say, tell me your verb to be. And the student will reply, to be. Am, are, is, was, were, being, been. That's it. Tell me your verb, tell me to lie. To lie. Lie, lies, lay, lying, lain. Okay? So this is really important, parents, that you make sure you are clearly hearing your students during their practice. Those little S's, to lie, lie, lies, lay, lying, lain. Your tutor for sure and myself for sure are going to be very carefully listening to make sure they're saying the accurate words. So if they're just kind of doing the tune, or it sounds close and you're like, good job, and checking that off that they know it, and they get to proofing time and it's not clear, or it's kind of mushy and they're not putting that S in, we won't be able to pass them. So I want you to make sure, parents, that you are really hearing them clearly in their practice. So all of this content can be spoken, it can be sung, it can be chanted. You can make up your own song, you can use a song from CC Connected, whatever works best. Okay, let's talk about math. Math. Okay, so for math, if your students are 9 and under, they can skip count their 1s through 15s and their squares and cubes. They can sing it or recite it. They may not write it. Okay, I was put, didn't know it. If your student is 10 or older by January 1st, of 2018, they must say the multiplication tables. They can recite them, they can sing them, and for the higher numbers, they can write them down if they need to, like for the 13s and 14s. But if they write it, they need to write it like this. 13 times 1 equals 13. 13 times 2 equals 26. 13 times 3 equals 39. And they need to say it while they're writing, because the writing should be kind of the placeholder. It's like just helping them keep their place versus helping them get through it. They need to know it in their minds. There was something I was going to say. Oh, if your students are doing the multiplication facts and they need kind of a placeholder for the lower numbers, you can have them write 1 through 12 on a piece of paper, and that way when they're going through and they can point to the 1, 2, the 3, the 4 to help them keep track. 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 4 is 20, etc., to help them keep track on that. Everybody can skip count the squares and the cubes. Woo woo. So hooray for that. Everyone can skip count that. When we get to conversions, teaspoons and tablespoons, the tutor will say, or the proofer will say, tell me your teaspoons and tablespoons, and the student will say 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons equal 1 fluid ounce. So that information in parentheses, those abbreviations, and the abbreviations for the measurements and equivalents are not required. So they just need to say 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. Side note, you will notice in the Memory Master Guide that it says that the tutor can give a more detailed prompt by saying how many teaspoons are in a tablespoon. And they can absolutely do that on this campus as well. If that's the way you're going to practice it and you'd like us to proof it that way, please just let your tutor and I know. Okay, let's talk about the area of a square. The area of the square is the length of its side squared, side singular. Week 19, this is the exception where that extra information in parentheses is actually required on our campus. Week 19 and 20 have to do with circles and the value of pi. And so the information in parentheses, the 3.14, is required. I want to hear them say the area of a circle equals pi, 3.14, times the radius squared. So that probably won't be in a song if you choose a song, so just make sure you add that in there. Let's talk about the laws. So of course, any of the laws with parentheses, that stuff is required. So the associative law, tutor will say, tell me your associative law. And the student will reply, opening parenthesis A plus B, closing parenthesis plus C equals A plus opening parenthesis B plus C, closing parenthesis. And if that's all they say, then the tutor will simply say, tell me your associative law for multiplication. No problem. They may not write them in lieu of saying them. These need to be spoken. Let's see, anything else? No. Science. The proofer will ask the question, what are 4 types of tissue? And the student will reply, 4 types of tissue are connective, epithelial, muscle, nerve. So the student needs to answer in a complete sentence as we do in class. You'll notice in the guide that it does say that the student can repeat the question and then give the answer. So what are 4 types of tissue? The student could say, what are 4 types of tissue? Connective, epithelial, muscle, nerve. They can say that. That is fine. If you're going to do that, just let your tutor know. That's not the way we practice it in review grammar, so I don't think anybody has done that, but if you want to, you can. All right. That's it for now. Proofing schedule. We will talk about that soon.